Donna. Good morning, Duchess Thrifts. Good morning. Good morning, Pickles, because you're probably going to be here already or soon. Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing? Good morning, Fashion Swaps. Nikki, Darla, Triggered by Sunshine. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. How is everyone doing? Proud Marine Mom. Good morning. How are you doing? Nikki, Darla. Who did I miss? Nietzsche. Hello. Good morning, everyone. Hang on. I just need to go and double check. Good morning, Pickles. I need to double check that this is live on YouTube because I just discovered, I went to my YouTube yesterday and discovered that a significant portion of my show, like all of my shows from last week, are not on YouTube. So I apologize because I kept telling you to go check out my channel to watch old shows, and then it wasn't there. So yeah, okay, good. So this one is live. This is good. Good morning, Retro City. How are you? Truly Phoenix, Marpat, good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's the 10th. Good morning, Dave from Alberta, Little Big Town. Good morning. Okay, so I'm going to do, good morning, Crazy Big Lady. So I'm going to do a repeat of my last week's show because it's not showing up on YouTube. So I'm going to be going over the country of origin, a Canada Post update for you. And we're going to do some tariff talk as well so that you can understand that a little bit better. So I'm going to try and do all of that in one go. So I apologize if you've heard this before. If you do have questions, feel free to ask them. I know, Little Big Town, I feel the same way. If you do have questions, feel free to ask them. I can't guarantee that I am going to be able to answer them all right away, but I will do my best. I might have to just answer them afterwards, or I might have to ask you to, depends on how long it takes me to get through this. So I apologize that this portion of the broadcast, good morning, Timberwolf. This portion of the broadcast, good morning, IBCC shop, is a Canadian thing. So if you're an American, hold on. I promise you it's going to get better. Having a bad day is 2 shipments going to US have multiple vintage bracelets in them, no marking saying made in China, but some would be suspect. I think you should be, is it that you don't know where it's made and you're having trouble putting the country of origin in, or just you're worried about them getting across the border? Yeah, both. Okay. So just do a quick Google Lens to see what comes up. Ask Google, put in Google Lens and then say, where is this made? With a question mark. You did, and it still isn't showing you. So it's been made in Canada. Made in Canada or made in the US. If it's a mystery wrapped in an enigma, because they're vintage, and a lot of vintage stuff did not come from China. There was the red wall that went up on like USSR, all the Soviet Union and China. All the communist countries were like blockaded. There was an economic blockade, really. And so there wasn't as much Chinese stuff that came to the North American market. So it is more than likely US or Canada or a European. So you should be fine, especially since it's vintage. That's the thing. In the good old days, we made our stuff here. But good morning, Thinker83. I am selling information for free this morning. If you're looking for something in particular, shout it out, because there's lots of sellers in the room right now who can tell you if they've got what you're looking for. So feel free to say, do you got any watches? Do you got any Pokemon? Do you got any Nintendo? Do you got any whatever? Because we're happy to help. So let me just switch over for a second. Switch. Okay. Can everyone see that all right? Is it too small? You might have to put on your glasses. And hang on, let me just put my face cam on. There I am. Hello. I'll bring me up over here. Okay. All right. And the Crazy Bead Lady, if they decide some of it's Chinese, can my buyer refuse to pay and send it back? Technically, yes, but Whatnot will not give them a refund for that. Are you using Canada Post or Chit Chats? Canada Post. So you should be fine. A Retro City says, I gotta say, a lot of my packages have hit customs because most of my items are made in China, but not one customer has complained to me about tariffs. So there you go. Yeah, yeah. So far so good. So far so good. I mean, those who are in the who are collecting toys and that, who know where the stuff is made, probably know what they're getting into. Okay, so let's start with country of origin. So this is a Canadian thing, so I apologize again to the Americans in the room. Just hang on, we will get to other stuff that relates to you. This might come to you eventually, so you might as well learn about it now. Sorry that I have a phone that likes to save battery power. Um, so, country of origin is new for Canadian sellers. You can now add country of origin to your out of Canada shipments. In fact, you can't create a label. You can't generate a label on whatnot unless you put the country of origin in for each item in your shipment if it's going out of Canada. This is going to speed up your shipping and prevent delays at customs and potentially save your customers a lot of money if they have all the countries in the world and then some. They added Mars just for Elon Musk. I'm kidding. They didn't, but they could have. They might have just for fun. Dear Whatnot, add Mars just for fun. Just for the Musk fans. Okay. Sorry, this is super small. Hang on. I'm zooming in and moving my head. I'm going down here. Okay. What you need to know about country of origin. So, what is the country of origin? Stop doing that. The country where a product was made, produced, or substantially transformed. Hey, secondhand sarcasm. We're talking about country of origin right now because it's a Canadian thing. It's a new thing we have to do. So, if you're wondering, was this made in Canada? If you're a handmade seller, the product must be entirely or mostly made in Canada with at least 51% of total direct costs for making that item being from Canadian sources. So the pieces and everything else, or the workmanship that went into it, guaranteed. If you handmade that, then over 51% of the total direct costs are from Canadian sources because your hard work is probably worth more than the stuff that you use to put that item together. The product of Canada, it has to contain almost all Canadian ingredients or materials. So a product of Canada is different from made in Canada significantly. So a made in Canada product can have pieces of it that are from other countries. But it was produced, like significantly transformed or made. The direct costs of making it were from Canadian sources. Um, if if a product is made elsewhere, it should clearly state it's made in wherever or assembled in whatever. So substantial transformation is the key, especially for my handmade friends. If a product is made from imported parts, but significantly changed in Canada, new product origin may be considered Canada. So it's illegal. Good morning, Awesome Finds. It is absolutely illegal under Canadian and international law to make false claims about origin. Penalties apply. So please don't lie. Okay, so here is a just quick cheat sheet that you can take. If you're selling stuff that has a barcode on it, you can use this as a quick cheat sheet. Now, there are some barcodes for some collectibles that are made outside of Canada or the US that have like 200 level numbers, and they seem to be for like they were meant to be for example, like some Pokemon cards were only meant to stay in the Japan market, so they have a different number because they weren't meant for export. It's very confusing. So you'll have to do your research but this is a quick cheat sheet. Just remember that just because the first three numbers of a barcode indicate a certain country, that doesn't necessarily mean that's where the country of origin is. It just helps you. It's a quick cheat sheet, but it's not the be all and end all. So on Whatnot, if you are a Canadian seller on Whatnot, when you go to your seller.whatnot.com to your seller hub on your laptop or your tablet, you're going to have to enter the country of origin if you are shipping it out of Canada. So you have to go to shipments, you select the shipment, and then the right-hand side, this little window is going to pop up. And it's going to see right here, it's going to say country of origin. You hit select and then you pick the country. and then you save it, and then there you go. It will look like that. And then once you've done that, you'll be able to generate a label. It will stop you from generating a label until you put country of origin. All right. That's it for is that does anyone have any other questions about country of origin? Because that's pretty much that's it in a nutshell. That's country of origin. What happens if you sell worldwide stamps, have multiple countries? There is no, yeah, IBCC shop, there is no way to include multiple countries. In that case, hang on, sorry. I just need to move my head back up here. Okay. In that case, switch. There we go. In that case, I would consider that the stamp, if you're selling like a stamp collection or a stamp album that's been put together by somebody where they put multiple countries' stamps into one major piece, then I would say that that was substantially transformed in Canada and it's a made in Canada worldwide stamp collection. There you go. That would be my argument. That it was substantially transformed in Canada. Even if it has China stamps. Um, yeah, because just because the pieces are from China, if it was substantially transformed in Canada, then it becomes a made in Canada product. One purple cactus. What if there is an item sold that has no label or indication where made? There is no override because if you were to ship through any other system other than whatnot, you have to declare where it's made if you're shipping it across the border. So what you do is, my recommendation is if you are unsure, ask Lord Google, um, use Google Lens and say where was this made, and it should be able to give you an AI answer. I know some people hate using AI. I'm sorry, but an AI answer will help you. And just remember that the people at um, Canadian Border Service Agency and well, for the when you're shipping into the U.S., we would be Border Services Agency, the BSA, the BS. Notice it starts with BS. Just saying. Anyways, they're using the same tools. They don't have like majorly sophisticated tools. They do have like, they've got lists and stuff and charts and everything else, but the majority of them are going to be doing exactly what you're doing, which is asking the equivalent of Lord Google, where was this made? So as long as you like, if you know it was made in China, don't write somewhere else on it. So like I started sourcing things from India instead of from China. So like I got a bunch of black lights from India instead of China so that I could sell black lights to the United States. Guys, the China ones will get a tariff, but they're made in India. So anyways, if you are unsure, do some research. And if it's vintage, it is unlikely to be like old vintage, my age my age of vintage as opposed to 2005 vintage. If it's older vintage, it is not going to be made in China. So it's the younger vintage that could be made in China, but older vintage is unlikely to have been made in China. So a lot of stuff that you're going to see, you can you can date it, and then from that date you can kind of see, okay, yeah, if it's in the 2000s, or if it's in, from I'd say 95 onwards, I would make sure that you really know whether or not it's made in China. Before then, it's most likely a lot of stuff was made in outside of China, because again, we had a lot of economic deterrence, um, to try and control the communist countries. It didn't work. In China's case, at least, it did not work. They've been around for thousands of years, and they'll be around for thousands of more years. So it didn't work. They tried. We tried to economically push them down. Didn't work. Okay. So any questions about country of origin before I move on? I'm going to switch. Move my head back up here. Okay. I've switched by mostly jewelry from Guinea, Bissau, and the Heard Island. you need to buy from the penguins of Heard Island, although it is currently winter there, so they are not shipping out. They're a little too cold. But come our fall, their spring, you can start buying pebbles from Heard Island. You actually can. The penguins do make great jewelry, and that's why they got slapped with tariffs, because the penguins make an excellent pebble jewelry. Um, Little Big Town says, I bought some inexpensive vintage jewelry from a seller in the US. Not only did I get slapped with duty, I also got slapped with the steel tariffs. So, Little Big Town, do you still have your receipt? And if you do, put in an appeal, because I am guessing that if you bought from a whatnot seller, then all of the declaration was made in the USA, and that's why you got slapped with tariffs. Um, and if it's vintage jewelry, it's probably not, yeah, because it's made with steel. Peacock, the jewelry's got stainless steel in it. It's we're being very particular about our steel. So so if you can tell that it's not made in the USA, yeah, Little Big Town, make sure that you check on the stuff and see where it was actually made. Now it's kind of hard. My suggestion is, in the future, for anybody, hang on, I'll switch back. Ah! Okay. In the future, if you're going to buy from a US seller, and US sellers, you might as well listen into this. So, a Canadian buying from US sellers, there are certain tariffs on certain products. So, like jewelry, stamps, coins, and clothing are some of the top whatnot selling products that are being bought from the US into Canada. And because of the way the whatnot system is currently set up, and that's why, you might as well know about country of origin for the future. If you look at your declaration form, if you look at the sheet, the USPS label, and on the bottom where you have to sign, it'll say country of origin as US. US, 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 US. So if it's not US and you're a US seller, cross that out on the little label. Cross it out and write in, like, put in the right country, because there's no tariffs on like Chinese goods coming into Canada. It's all about made in USA goods. It's a tariff on made in USA goods. So if you're a Canadian buyer and you bought from a US seller, and you know that the stuff in the box is not made in the USA, it was made elsewhere, but you got hit with tariffs, you can, at the post office, when they're handing you that bill, you say, I want you to send this back to the Canadian Border Services Agency for an appeal. And then they're going to make you fill in a form. You have to, like, you give your email, etc. They send it back. Then Canada Border Service Agency will email you with a link to a form for you to fill out. And then what you need to do is make sure that you have written down all the details, and like take screenshots from your video receipt to show what's in the box, and say, this is made in Italy, this is made in Canada. um Lego is outrageous for tariffs coming from the US, again, because it says made in USA, right? But they weren't made in the USA, I'm guessing, Brody. So you need to appeal it. The easiest way to appeal is to send it back at the post office to Canada Border Service Agency. Do not say return to sender. That's going to send it back to the seller on the other side of the border. You want to send it back to the Canada Border Service Agency. They don't charge you for this. This is part of their service to Canadians. And then you have to write out um, why you believe it's not made in USA, and why you shouldn't have a tariff on it. And then they'll open the box and look at it. This needs to be explained in a PDF. If you go to Canada Border Services Agency, CBSA, it also has BS in the name. Go to Canada Border Services Agency and look up. Tell us how you really feel. I don't even know how to say that. Lacrankius. I'm going to say that. What you want to do is fill in is you can go to Canada Border Service Agency and just put in appeals, and it will tell you all the information. There's like different ways that you can do it. You can do it the way that I'm suggesting, which is, I think, the best way. You send it through to you send it back to them and do an appeal, or you can pay the fee and then you can do an appeal. But the thing is that you've got the box, and now you have to somehow prove that you didn't just replace the stuff in the box. So it's easy, like they're just going to say no, because and then you can always return to sender. But I do not recommend return to sender, because if you return to sender because of duties, taxes, and fees, whatnot's going to is not going to refund you. So because that's on you for importing something in. So that is my recommendation, is that you appeal, you send it back for an appeal while you're at the post office. Don't pay the bill, send it back, and then wait for the appeal. And that is your best chance, especially if the stuff, Little Big Town says, I wish I had some, I just wanted some fun jewelry. Good news, Little Big Town, there are a lot of awesome jewelry sellers on Whatnot that are in Canada. So you can skip the border problems. Um, well, I guess that's good. Less than 8%. 8% is less than 8%. It's not too bad, not too shabby gabby. Good morning, Angela. Yes, buy now, shop 59 sells. Peacock Jewelry, who's in here, she makes jewelry for ostriches, emus, peacocks, and she also makes muzzles for roosters. Oh, yeah, Peacock just pays the bill. She never appeals. Yeah, and yes, Shop with Tasha also has jewelry. And there are a bunch of other people. There are tons, like there's Great Canadian Jewelry was on last night. We rated into Engraver with of Trees, who was on last night. Forget Me Not Vintage has awesome jewelry. She's in Canada. Vintiquity has awesome jewelry. Oh, the list is long. The list is long. So definitely check out Canadian shows. Plus, you're not paying for US shipping, which is really high. US to Canada shipping is really high. And then on top of it, you are not paying the when you buy from a US seller, a Canadian has to pay your credit card company a conversion rate. You don't have to pay that financial transaction conversion rate. So you save even more that way. Plus, you're paying in Canadian dollars instead of American dollars. So $5 Canadian is a lot less than $5 American. $5, $5, $5. Okay. So all right. So there you go. There is your update on country of origin. Here we go. All right, I just ran this so that it would get a notification out there and it would pin it. So there is currently no strike. Now, please note that yesterday they were sitting down at the table for more negotiations on a terms of reference agreement. So they're currently in a legal strike position, but they're doing work to rule. They've removed overtime. So there is no strike right now. Canada Post is open and operating. I won't go into this. So today's situation is work to rule with no overtime. The union and Canada Post have been working on terms of reference for a binding arbitration hearings. The problem is that they can't agree. They're still not agreeing on what the terms of reference are going to be, and they're stuck on that. And according to the Toronto Star, yesterday afternoon they started publicly trading barbs with each other. So it is another poop show. So hopefully they come to an agreement. So here's how it works. If they, then I'll just switch for a second. There we go. So binding arbitration would mean that a judge or a panel would review the arguments on both sides and then would make a decision on what the final contract would be. And it's binding. Neither side can back out of it. Canada Post can't lock out its workers during binding arbitration, and the union cannot go on strike during binding arbitration. And then once binding arbitration is over, there's a new contract. So again, no strike, no lockout, because there'd be a new contract. So that is a great case for us, because there'd be no strike. However, they have to get to the point of agreeing to the terms of reference, which is basically like rules of engagement that the arbitrators will be using to make their decisions. So that, like, this is how the binding arbitration is going to work, and these are the areas where the arbitrator is going to be focused on. These are the areas where they've already agreed to things. So this stuff is already finalized. It's just these things that the arbitrator needs to work on. They're still not there on those things. They've not worked on the terms of reference, and now they're both putting out public statements kind of slamming each other. So I think we're back in a sandbox situation, a playground silliness situation, and we are not closer. We're closer to strike. We are 1 minute closer to strike than we were before. Retro City Collectible says, do you think they will actually call an all-out strike anytime soon? I feel like the union has lost leverage. It still has that leverage of going full on strike. It doesn't want to do it because the public is not currently with them. But I mean, they did it last time at like the worst possible time for businesses, for the country. I mean, it was not helpful. It was not helpful at all. Doing it now, the thing is that the big leverage they lost is that because it was so close to the last strike, businesses were already ready for what they would do in case of a strike because they had months to prepare. So many businesses have switched over to other methods of delivering parcels and orders that Canada Post is super fast right now, by the way. If you use Canada Post, your parcels are going to get delivered in no time flat across Canada because they're the parcel the number of parcels and mail that's being delivered through Canada Post has dropped dramatically ever since this whole thing. And it's been over a month now, I think. Oh God. So Little Big Town, in big cities, no Canada Post would be perfectly fine. In small towns, Canada Post is the only game in town. There's lots of sellers on here right now that if they had if they didn't have Canada Post, they would have no way. Absolutely no way, because there's nothing else. There's nothing. It's just their little post office. And we have a seller in can't remember what he sells, but is in Resolute Bay, Nunavut. The only way to get parcels out other than Canada Post is to fly them to Yellowknife on a plane. Fly them to Yellowknife and then have someone drop them off at Pure later. Cray cray. So Holly Med asks, if you were sending out a package to the US today, would you prefer Canada Post or Chit Chats? I would pick the most convenient for you. 6 of one, half dozen of another, as far as I'm concerned, except that Chit Chats has limitations on what you can send. So if it is made in China or made in Hong Kong, you can't send it by Chit Chats across the border. If it is over $800 US in value, you can't send it across the border. If it's got anything edible in it or like seeds, plant seeds, you can't send it across the border using Chit Chats. If it's anything that's going to put in your mouth, so toothpaste, toothbrushes, anything to do with teeth and mouth, not allowed to go. There are so many restrictions, especially if you want to sell Canadian snacks and candies. There's a lot of sellers on here who sells Canadian snacks and candies. You can't send it through Chit Chats. So it's sort of is Chit Chats going to be convenient for you and your business? If yes, then use Chit Chats because it's convenient. Otherwise, stay with Canada Post. The difference in price for your customer now is not that much more. It is slightly cheaper with Chit Chats in most cases. However, in a lot of parts of Canada, Chit Chats uses Canada Post for final mile delivery. And so basically when someone buys a label, when you're a Chit Chats, if you're a seller using Chit Chats and someone buys a label from you and they live on an off the beaten track location, or what seems to Chit Chats like an off the beaten track location, then they're going to pay a slightly more for that label than if the seller was Canada Post. Now it is in the wish list. And I know Whatnot, dear Whatnot, I know you're aware of it, that it would be awesome if a seller could say, I'll do either Chit Chats or Canada Post. So just pick the cheapest thing for my customer and I'll use that. That would be awesome because then it would offer that buyer the cheapest rate, which would be Canada Post. Because Chit Chats charges for Chit Chats has to charge for their service. They're not making money off of buying the Canada Post label. They're making money off of the the beginning part of the journey. So you're basically paying for Chit Chats and Canada Post in one label as opposed to just Canada Post label. Plus, it also goes out of a provincial hub. So sometimes it's farther away from the buyer than where you live. So it actually costs more because of that too, the Canada Post part of the label. So it's fascinating. Okay, switching back to work to rule. All right. So, and well, let's see. So future possibilities are that Canada Post continues work to rule, and the other option is that this is forced to a vote, which is what Canada Post wants. So Canada Post wants it to go to a vote to the members. If they say yes, then it would be no strike. If they say no, if they voted no, then it could go to rolling strikes or a full national strike. And there's also the possibility that if it goes to a full national strike, that the government will have to bring in back to work legislation, or Canada Post could just lock out workers. There are so many possibilities. I'm so sick of this strike. It would be great if we can choose the shipping courier at the order level versus the show level. As a buyer or as a seller? Because it would have to be at the show level as a buyer. Because if it was at the order level, they get charged based on which system you choose. If you choose Chit Chats, that's what your buyer gets charged when they buy the item. So that makes it more challenging. So if there's rotating strikes, the union, well, we're not going to worry about that. So here's the thing: is keep calm and plan ahead, keep selling, adapt and adjust. We got through this last time, and we're getting through it this time. Right now, I just switched back to Canada Post because I don't see a strike happening anytime soon. And Canada Post is right down the street from me, and Chit Chats is 35 minutes away. And I'm tired of driving that far just to drop off packages, especially when I'm not selling a lot right now. Just a reminder for Canadian sellers that Whatnot has extended the commission. It's only 4% right now until September 7th. This is a gift from Whatnot, and we really appreciate it because you didn't need to do this, but they feel bad for us because of all this strike crap. So we really, really appreciate it. So if you can switch to Chit Chats, you can learn more at help.whatnot.com. Search for Chit Chats. Note that there are no locations in Saskatoon, Manitoba, Newfoundland, or the territories. You can also use CanPar to ship to Chit Chats, and I'll talk about that in a second. So in British Columbia, they only have locations in the Greater Vancouver area. In Alberta, they only have drop-off locations in Edmonton and branches in Calgary. Nothing in Saskatchewan, nothing in Manitoba. In Ontario, there's a drop-off in London, there's a drop-off in Niagara, there's a drop-off outside of Ottawa, and then there's a drop-off in Peterborough, and the rest are pretty much all centered around the Greater Toronto area. In Quebec, it's Montreal, or if you want, there's Montreal or Montreal. In New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and PEI, there is one hub that is in Bedford Bay, just outside of Halifax in Nova Scotia. All the rest of those blue dots are, for the most of them are Maritime Bus Company locations. And what you do is consolidated shipping. What's consolidated shipping, Kim? Well, thanks for asking, Kim. No problem. So consolidated shipping is where you take all of your shipments from your show, you put them into one big box, you go to a Maritime Bus location, you tell them you want it to go to Chit Chats. They will weigh it and measure it, and they will charge you a fee to take it on the bus to the Bedford Bay location in Nova Scotia. So if you live way the fork over here or way the fork over here in Cape Breton, you can just imagine how long that bus is going to take to get there, and they charge you for that distance. But that is an option. Now, there are no locations in Newfoundland and Labrador, and there are no locations in the territories, which just as a geography reminder for everyone in the room, the territories are Nunavut, and there is Northwest Territories, and then there is Yukon. There you go. your geography lesson for today. So you can also ship, not shit, ship to Chit Chats using Canpar. You can consolidate your packages into one big box, and then you can buy a label and have a courier deliver it to a Chit Chats hub or branch. You need to learn more about that at chitchats.com. Don't just send it to a drop off location. They don't take consolidated shipments at all drop off locations. So you need to use something like Campar. Chit Chats has a preferred rate with Campar, where you can book it on the Chit Chats website and send it directly that way. So that is an option. Um, but that does cost money too. And I did look into that last time, and it wasn't that much. It just depends on where you're going. So currently within Canada, so a lot of people freak out about this when they're using Chit Chats, and they're like, I switched to Chit Chats so I could avoid Canada Post because I'm worried about the strike. And then it printed out a Canada Post label. Well, fear not. Currently within Canada, some addresses will auto select to Canada Post for the final mile, even though they're still using Chit Chats. What Chit Chats did at the very beginning of this strike is that they said they actually switched people over right away. The packages, they switched them over and used their other final mile services. So if a strike happens, Chit Chats will redirect those packages that they've not already handed over to Canada Post. They will hand those over instead to their other final mile couriers. So if you use Chit Chats, don't freak out when you see a Canada Post label. It's just part of their process. Oh my gosh, you unlocked egg, Louise. Look at that. You didn't turn that off and hide it. You are being sneaky and you got caught. Hi, how are you? So, Chit Chats, make sure you know what items you are selling before what items are prohibited before you start selling using Chit Chats. Cross-border shipments cannot have certain items, and the whole package has to be under $800. And yes, Chit Chats will not deliver to PO boxes. Thank you, IBCC shop. Um, so there is a huge list. Okay. So, like, this is just a screenshot of part of the list of things that you cannot ship using Chit Chats or ship using ship chats. So, food and beverages, including candy and chocolate bars, are not allowed. Tea, coffee, also not allowed. No firearms, because, firearms is like our top seller on Whatnot Canada. Not. So, anyways, go to um, help.whatnot.com, search for Chit Chats with a C, not an S, Chit Chats, and then you will find the FAQ, and you'll be able to find the link to go to this page where you can read all the different things that you cannot ship using Chit Chats. Now, you'll say, hey, Cam, but I'm selling to mostly Canadians. And so I'm not that worried because I can use Chit Chats because it's only going within Canada. Yes, but what happens if you do actually sell to an American? Then you're going to have to ask support to create a label for you, and you could get charged for the difference. So Dave just said something funny, but I can't repeat it. Darn it. So just also a reminder that due to the tariffs, and if you want to read more about tariffs, you can go to my show notes and scroll down until you see the tacos. Due to tariffs, made in China and Hong Kong items can't be shipped to the US via Chit Chats. In fact, don't be me. Switch for a second. Don't be me and put country of origin on every single thing, even if it's just shipping within Canada, because you're an idiot and you want to try out the system. Because if you put something says made in China on it and it's going within Canada, then it will bounce it out of the Chit Chats. So don't be me. Only put country of origin where you need it. There you go. There's my public service announcement for today. Okay. And my recommendation to you all is, including my American friends in the room. Howdy, how you doing, y'all? So market locally with local pickup. There's so many people that live close to you that I bet you would love to buy your stuff off of Whatnot, but they don't want to pay for shipping, and they don't realize that their local pickup is a thing. Most people don't remember about local pickup. So make sure you talk about it in your shows. Make it something that you put into your show notes. Like, do you live near me? Select local pickup and save on shipping. It's also going to save you money, okay? Because you pay 2.9% payment processing fee on whatever the buyer pays for shipping. If the buyer pays zero for shipping, then you don't pay the 2.9% payment processing fee for shipping. You pay zero of that. You're only paying the 2.9% payment processing fee for the item, not for the shipping too. And oftentimes Canadians will tell you, we sell something for $5 and it costs $14 for the person to get it shipped to them. That 2.9% payment processing fee, it gets high. It gets to be a high percentage because the item's $5, but $14. You can do the math. If I said $15, then you could see it's times three times more than the 2.9% we pay for the item. Anyways, market with local pickup. And how can you do that locally? Create little flyers, like little quarter page flyers. See, create little quarter page flyers. And if you want help with that, message me and I'll make up some templates and put them on the Discord. Just tell me you want that and I'll put it on the Discord. Tell me in the Discord even. And if you're wondering where's the Discord, well, if you go to my show notes, you'll be able to find out where the Discord is. And if you're watching on YouTube, send me a direct message on Whatnot, and I will tell you the Discord address so you can join in. And everyone's welcome. So you don't have to be from Canada to be in our unofficial Canadian work because we're Canadian. We welcome people from all countries permanently into our country. I promise no masked people will come and get you in the middle of the night from our Discord. Anyways. If you want a quarter page thing that you can put up in your local post office, in like the gym, like wherever they let you, the library, the laundromat. I mean, seriously, people are doing nothing but waiting for their dryers to finish drying. So why not have them sit on Whatnot and buy from you? And then they can pick it up at the laundromat. You can meet them at the laundromat and you can wash your comforters or something while you wait for them to arrive. Anyways, make up little flyers. Local pickup is actually a really great opportunity that hasn't been utilized enough. So there you go. I'm off my soapbox. Okay. Market with local pickup. I have created these cute little things that you can use on your social media, Instagram. All you do is just put their blank spots. You can put a QR code and you can put your logo on them. And there's a few of them that we already have in the Discord that you'll be able to see. And okay, so if there is a postal strike, and we're 1 minute closer to midnight, but we're not there yet. I'd say we're like 8 minutes to midnight as opposed to yes, late last week I said we were 10 minutes to midnight. I think we're 8 minutes to midnight. We're still not there. Hopefully this binding arbitration will go through and then we'll be okay. But if there is a strike, do not worry. If you can't use chit chats, Whatnot is going to activate the bring your own label system temporarily, so you'll still be able to sell on Whatnot and ship out without having to worry. Yes, definitely, Dave. You can just not run it in the show. Dave asks, I have a niche camera listed in my show. Lots of interest in pre-bids, but made in China. I had thought Japan. Can I just not show it? Yes, you can also edit it. And if you edit it, if you change the start bid slightly and edit it, it will erase your pre-bids. So you can always do that too. Edit it, put made in China at the very beginning of the description. And then it would get rid of the pre-bids as far as I know. If you do anything to edit it, you lose your pre-bids because basically it's like people were bidding on the last description, right? Not the current description. So you can always do that too. And you can also say to the winner, you can message them and say, if you see that they are in the US and they win it and they're not in the room when they win it, you can message them and say, if you would like to cancel, I will accept the cancellation. You did raise the price. Okay. Yeah. So you can always accept the cancellation. I think it's fair if you pre-list something and you don't put that it's made in China and a person wins and then you notice that they're in the States, to make sure that you message them to say, I just want to make sure you're aware of this before I ship it out. because I noticed that you weren't there. You had done this as a pre-bid. I think that's just good customer service, in my humble opinion. Yeah, so I would just message them if anybody who pre-bid won, then I would message them afterwards and say, just want to make sure. If they're in the US. If they're anywhere else in the world, it's fine. Um, so bring your own label. I'm not going to go into step by step because, again, I think we're at 8 minutes to midnight, not 2 minutes to midnight. So I'm not too worried right now. But just to keep everyone calm and cool and collected, bring your own label will be available with FedEx and UPS. And if you want to start doing your research now, no, here are the companies that you can look at and sign up for. Don't sign up for any companies where there's a subscription fee for shipping. That's a scam. I tried some of those. I did the free trial of those ones and discovered that their prices were higher than like Freightcom and Stallion and Chit Chats. So research Chit Chats to see whether or not you could use them. Research whether or not you could ship like to Campar, how much that would cost you if you use Campar to ship to a Chit Chats location instead. And then look at McCool, Stallion Express, Freightcom. Freightcom was the most popular, especially if anybody's on Vancouver Island. Freightcom.com was the most popular. And Whatnot, if a strike does happen, Whatnot will have to stop international buying by Canadians. So if you do want to keep buying from the US, although why when you can buy from Canada? But anyways, if you want to keep buying from the US during a postal strike, you should start researching mail forwarding companies now. MyUS.com charges way too high fees, so just skip them. And if you use a post office box, you are going to have to find an alternative address for ordering on Whatnot because if the person is using Bring Your Own Label, they will not be able to deliver to a post box. So sellers, all you need to do is just message your buyer and say, hey, we have a postal strike, so I'm using FedEx to deliver your package. Do you have a physical address that I could use because it won't ship to a PO box? I never had a problem during the strike, and I never heard of anybody who had a problem where someone said, I refuse to give you a physical address to get my stuff. Alyssa Swoon says, I've heard some sellers give a buyer's warning for people in the US to understand tariffs could be applied and buy at their own risk, but I could see that giving you some customer issues. So here's what I do is, and I've seen this in a lot of shows, is I will hold up the item and say where it's made. Um, and then but I don't go into a big long tariff thing, especially since every freaking morning almost since like February I've talked about tariffs. I really don't want to have to talk about them in my shows, but I just say, just so you know, this is made in China. And then I can show to, if there's a complaint, I can show to Whatnot, you know what? I got a bad rating. Not that this happened because I tried to skip made in China stuff, but I got a bad rating and it was because they paid tariffs. And I clearly stated, and here's the clip, I clearly stated that this item was made in China. And an American that doesn't know that there's tariffs in China, well, I mean, what am I saying? There's a lot of Canadians who have no clue about anything too. So, but I mean, there are a lot of people who still don't get how tariffs even work. Does Whatnot ever erase bad ratings? They could remove them from your profile if it indeed was completely unfair. Yes. Um, some people have tried to get what they consider to be unfair off, and they've stayed on. A lot of it also has to do, Dave, with how you approach Whatnot. I've seen a lot of people like get angry with Whatnot support for a review. You need to keep calm and be polite and give rational, calm, rational, friendly conversation. Don't be a dick with support because I totally understand why support's like, you know what? I think I'm going to hit the button that just gives a response that's like a canned response. This person's being a rude. Canned response to you. Although there are some canned responses that don't make any sense, but that's not all of them. Dave says, I'm polite to support and border agents. Yeah, I'm not. Oh, God. We have to go to England and that's going to be fine because, we're a colony, so we should be fine. But my husband suggested we fly to um, down farther south away from the United States, but I'm worried that we'd like end up with a plane getting redirected. Yes, border agents scare me too. My dad used to lie every time we went to the border. He always said way more stuff than he should. But I mean, he was lying to Canadian border agents. It's different. All right. I always found the border agents to be, but then I have white privilege too. So I always found American border agents to be perfectly fine. But then that's white privilege for you. Um, so here's what I want to say to everybody. Just because there's this still slightly looming, but we're not there yet, possible strike. Yo, Alyssa, I can imagine. Schedule, just keep moving forward. There's no strike right now. Canada Post is still working. If you hear someone say there's a Canada Post strike, fake news. Hashtag fake news. There is no Canada Post strike right now. So keep moving forward, schedule your shows, market your shows, share the living daylights out of your shows. That's your job. You need to do your own marketing. Um, yes, they do have to let us back in, but they could let us back into a jail if they wanted to, Peacock. Sign up with a few shipping companies. If you're worried about the Canada Post strike, sign up with a few shipping companies and start comparing rates with your most common packages so that you're prepared just in case. And a big thank you to Whatnot Support, especially to Whatnot Louise. We really appreciate you. And yeah, because this uncertainty, it must be a complete pain in the butt for support, especially since there's probably tons of questions. And I've only got 26 people in my room, and I hope that there's more than 26 sellers on Whatnot. I know there's more than 26 Canadian sellers on Whatnot. I wish we could do like a Canadian. You don't count as two. You count as a million happy customers. Peacock in one beautiful package. So I wish there was a way we could have like a Whatnot Zoom, like teaching Zoom call with Canada, like once a month or something. It would be awesome. Just everybody, you all need to come to this class today. This is the Whatnot class. That would be awesome. We could probably clear up a few issues just doing that. But, that would be great. But, people don't even read their email. Time up. People don't even read the emails. Whatnot Louise and the team work really hard to write awesome emails with great instructions, and then we don't read them. We don't read the emails. So please read your emails. Just read your emails. Okay. So any more questions about what did we talked about country of origin first, and we talked about the strike and what to do, and we talked about chit chats and how to decide whether or not you want to use chit chats. And we need more Canadian sellers and buyers. We do Yard Yeller. So everybody start marketing. You've got that referral code. Start sending out that referral code everywhere. Put it on your social media. Start putting out the good morning, Kay Slay. How are you? Put out to your social media that referral code. First of all, the person who signs up using that referral code is going to get $15. And second of all, you're going to get $5. $5, $5, $5. Crazy Bee Lady said, I messaged my US buyers warning them not to pay the $200 of charge. No, Crazy Bee Lady. No, that's a totally different. No, they're responsible for those tariffs. And there's a totally different process in the United States, which I'm not even going to learn. So no, it's a different process for Canada to appeal. No, if they bought something from China, then no, I wouldn't. See, the thing is that you need to manage the communication in a way that doesn't scare people off by confusing them or making them worry too much about buying in Canada, right? Because buying in Canada is pretty simple. If you're a US buyer buying it from a Canadian show, it's pretty simple. As long as you skip Chinese products and vintage products that were made in Hong Kong, as long as you skip those products and buy anything but made in any other country, There's no tariffs, taxes, or duties that will be charged as long as the whole value of the entire box that you get shipped is under $800. The majority of us who sell on Whatnot in Canada do not ship out, um, do not ship out a box that's worth more than 800 bucks. Angie says, sadly, my one show is 90% made in China. So market it for Canadians, and just make sure you put like a little, like, say it, put a little flag or a piece of paper that's in the background or something that says, US buyers, just be aware these things are made in China. If they make the decision to buy it anyways in the hopes that it'll slip through, but no, if you're a US buyer, oh good, yeah, keep it in the description and put it at the highest point in the description so that they can see it. Um, Again, you want to make sure that you're being fair to your customers, but at the same time, don't let your customers be unfair to you by putting the tariffs, like blaming you for the tariffs. The person to blame is on Pennsylvania Avenue, unless he's golfing right now. Then he's on a golf course. But otherwise, under normal circumstances, he currently lives in Pennsylvania Avenue. And that's the person that you should direct their ire to. You're making sure it's the only, oh, it doesn't have to be the only thing in the description. The more descriptive you can get, the better. But just put it at the very beginning. Made in China, um, refurbished electronics, a frying pan, or a cute little animal. I don't know. I don't know. I know you're doing. This is your palette show, right? Angie's this and that bought a palette of as seen on TV stuff, which is totally fun. As seen on TV stuff is so much fun. There used to be an as seen on TV store in the Oshawa Mall. I don't know if it's still there, but I used to love going in there and buying things I really didn't need, but suddenly wanted, desperately, desperately wanted, because they seem so cool. All right, it is 10:46. Everybody share where you're from and what you sell so that everybody can follow everybody else. And I will start. Yes, and some listed might have to do show next week, as have two more pallets to get, as they're now bankrupt. Oh, ooh, that sounds exciting. Yeah, so just make sure you just make your customers aware, but um don't scare your customers. Just make them aware. So like and I think the thing is as long as you like have some, so for example, Linda, you have some of your handmade items that are made in Canada. You have substantially transformed them from being little pieces of jewelry parts into a gorgeous brooch, and statement brooch. Then you would just add some sort of little slip of paper. It says like that, I'm sure you've got something that you printed from before, or some business cards or something from before that you could use for that. And just make note of it in the description on Whatnot so that it's clear to everyone. Charlie Treasure says, seller of books. Books. Did I mention I sell books? Yay, Charlie Treasures. And I'm Kim. I'm from Hastings, Ontario, just outside of Hastings, overlooking the Trent River. And I sell just about everything, but mostly dead people stuff. Not, there's nothing like dead about the stuff. It's just stuff that dead people owned. And I like Canadian pottery. IBCC shop is from Hamilton, Ontario. Pokemon, Star Wars, stamps, covers, and philatelic supply dealer. Yay! Angie's This and That is in Listowel, Ontario. Sells this, that, and everything. Also conductor of the Family Fashion Raid Train. There's still 2 spots open for the Family Fashion Raid Train on June 15th. Angie, if you need me to go for like an hour and a half, I can fill that second spot. I wanted to leave it open, that the spot underneath me. I can do that as well if you need to, but I thought I'd leave it open first. Sarsaparilla is in Kesnell. How do you say that? Kesnell, BC. Vintage clothing. I probably said that wrong, didn't I? Or Keesnell. Queasnell sounds like queasy. I'm Queasnell. Cuisinart. Chief Cockadoodle Doo, what's up? Little Big Town is from Mount Albert, Ontario. I love vintage things. Me too. Peacock Jewelry is from Vancouver Island, and she sells haunted pottery. I almost said poetry. You sell haunted poetry. Jude's Closet is from Oshawa, Ontario. Yay! Oh yeah, Timeless Treasures. First show on the 16th. Yes. Vintage Fisher Price, seller of all vintage, Marmora, Ontario, close to you, Kim. Oh yes, hello. I love it. Hello, hello. I love that name. And first show on the 16th. It's going to be awesome. And I'm sorry I haven't messaged you. I felt so sick for the past 2 weeks. Oh, the S is silent in Kes, so it's, oh gosh. K Nell. Queenell. Queenell? Oh my God. Forget it. I give up. I'm not gonna try and say it's sarsaparilla. Shop with Tasha is also in Oshawa, Ontario, selling clothing, jewelry, books, vintage home decor, and more. Yes, Peacock, you should call 911 because almost eating a spider is emergency. Because I know a lady who swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Don't swallow the fly or the spider. Retro City Collectibles is in Mississauga, Ontario. I have shows this Thursday and Saturday. Toys, dolls, action figures, plushies, and lots more. Stop by for awesome deals or just to stay high. Stay high. I'm clearly tired. Just to say hi. Stop by for awesome deals or just say hi to Retro City Collectibles, who is on Thursday and Saturday with toys, dolls, action figures, plushies, and lots more. Sorry. Was the worst. That was the worst introduction ever. Queenel. Queenel. Dear Lord, Queenel. It does not look like Queenel. Why is the S there? Get rid of the S. It's too confusing. Queenel. 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 All right, Queenel, British Columbia. Charlie, you got egg. Your life is complete. I'm so sorry that you had to suffer through 3 of my shows to get some coupons you don't have to use. Look at that. So IBC shop is only an hour and a bit away. Me too. I'm only an hour and a bit away from the Schwa, where we used to live. Terry is from Dundas, Ontario. I mainly sell jewelry, but lots of other things, but I will be taking the next month off. Sending you love, Terry. And yeah, okay, that's it. That's it for this morning. Unless anyone has questions. D is on. Sweet. Awesome. Okay, hang on. I'm going to switch. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. If D is on, then we should go into D. I'm on later on today. I'm doing 2 shows tonight, which I don't usually do night shows. You all know me. I don't usually do night shows. And, but tonight I'm doing 2 shows back to back. I'm going to be hanging out with Afternoon Antico, and we're going to be doing some, we're taking jewelry, broken jewelry pieces, and we're making art out of them. And then so come over and visit me just before 6, and we're going to raid into Kylie Afternoon Antico. And then at have a great day too. And then tonight at just before 8 o'clock, I will be on because we are going to be I'm going to be doing the raid train, which is all sellers whose names start with the. So I have the honor of being on the raid train. Yes, and we're going to put in our Canada EN flags. We're going to go raid now. I love you guys so much. Have a great day. This is Dee's 375th show in a row. She is amazing. So let's go hang out with her for a bit. Have a great day, everybody. Show your flags, show your love, and I'll see you